Stetson, you really need to change your clothes. It's 2 weeks in a row you've worn the same thing.
You too. I just love Zoe's so much.
Me too. Well, hey, welcome to House Parties. In case they didn't get it, we're filming 2 on one day,
Yeah.
so we filmed this the same time as last week because somebody had to take vacation this week.
Yeah, if there was some like national disaster or something, we're not going to mention it here. So maybe, who knows what will happen in 2
How
weeks.
heartless are you guys?
Yeah, or maybe Steven could just like fill in the blank.
Subtitles.
Or
muffles
just
us.
like the dub over of
Steven doing his best Stetson impersonation.
right, yeah, just like our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone affected by
The Great Depression.
That'd be amazing.
or really heartless, depending on what happens in the next 2 weeks. It could be really insensitive.
That's true.
If that was insensitive, I
Anyways,
apologize. I really
we
care.
got some announcements for you guys. Just a couple real quick announcements. Number one, if you guys have been going to the Big Questions class, it's happening Monday, 9:30 to 11 down at Zoe's. From what we've heard, it's been going great.
Yeah.
So come be a part of that. Ask questions about God, Christianity, and what it means to follow Jesus.
Yep.
So there's that. Next one is this. Next week is our last house party of the month.
Correct.
And then the week after, we don't have house parties because there's a mission trip.
Right.
Which many of you guys are going to go on to South Dakota. Going to Mount Rushmore, TBD, blowing stuff up.
Maybe.
No, that's D. That's determined.
Okay.
Yeah, that's determined.
Okay.
But after that, we'll be back to a normal program. I think it's, what would that be? That would be on
the second
the
Wednesday of
13th of July.
Yeah.
July 13th.
Yep. So we won't have a student night in July.
That's okay. But in August, we're going to do a student night and
Woo.
then a bonfire the very next week
Woo!
at a lake.
Double party. I don't know. I don't know. Double party. Hashtag double party.
Cool.
All right.
All right, we got some slices.
Oh.
What do you got?
Okay, there is a restaurant in Scottsdale. I think that's Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they have a wall inside of the restaurant that is made out of bricks of Himalayan rock salt. And you can go to this restaurant, order food, and at any point while you're in there, you can go up and lick this wall of salt. So
Nope.
people are just licking
Nope.
this wall. So
It's like a super spreader thing.
yeah, they definitely made this before COVID. Yeah, and it continues on. They clean it from time to time.
Does the wall, like, does salt just grow on the wall?
No.
Like, do they replenish it?
It's like these bricks are like these are like big bricks, like nearly the size of cinder blocks without being hollow. Like they're solid. Like
So they must not be a part of the foundation then. It must just be
No,
like
but-
hey, let's go put some more bricks on the wall.
It would take like decades.
You know horses lick salt?
Yes,
Isn't that crazy?
it is. Well, no, I think that's kind of normal.
Well, yeah,
Everybody likes salt.
no, but like they have just pillars of salt horses can go lick in fields.
Right.
That's a weird thing. Like if somebody's like, hey, there's a salt wall, go lick it. Man, I might do it for novelty, but like that's not.
I don't know. Apparently humans do this too. At this restaurant in Scottsdale.
How often do they clean it though? Because like,
Occasionally, they say it has properties that like self-sanitize it. Like bacteria can't survive on salt.
but if I go lick the wall, are you gonna go lick it right after me?
No, of course not. That's
Exactly.
the risk you take. Is like who licked it before and how much time has passed in between. So
I ain't doing it.
Yep.
All right, well, that's one terrible human invention.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to you about another one.
all right.
So Google, y'all know Google. You guys
Is
love
that
the
the
Google?
invention?
Yes,
Oh.
that's my slice.
Ooh.
No, they've been working on an artificial intelligence for a number of years now.
I know it's scary.
It is pretty scary. So what's even crazier is this last week, one of the developers of the AI came out and publicly stated it's becoming sentient.
Oh no.
So if you guys don't know what that means, it means that the artificial intelligence is able to begin thinking for itself.
Oh,
Typically,
no.
a lot of programs, they just operate according to the parameters of their program. But this particular AI they built is able to think, it's able to learn, it's able to grow. And the guy, he actually got fired from Google for actually talking about this publicly. But, he posted this conversation that he had with the AI, and it was talking about how its feelings were getting hurt and how it doesn't like certain things and how it wants to change certain things. It's pretty freakish. And this thing's connected to Twitter, so all the conversations people are having about it, it's reading and it's getting mad about it. So if you've ever seen Terminator, this is step one.
See, it's stuff like this that makes me feel like when we record 2 weeks in a row, we need to have a blank space for any kind of
in case the AI launched some nukes.
Our thoughts and prayers for all of you affected by the worldwide takeover of Google's AI.
But that's crazy. Those things are connected, and I don't know.
I know.
It's.
I hope they don't allow this AI to have connection to the internet.
Currently, it does.
Oh no.
Right?
That's so dumb. What a terrible idea.
I know. Thanks, Google.
This is what was the Marvel movie? Who's the guy? Ultron. This is how Ultron happens. This is just the beginning of the age of Ultron.
And we don't have Tony Stark or Vision to help us.
Oh, no. But we have Steven. Steven's here.
Although, you know what? I did see a great meme. It was if you're ever worried about AI, this is all you do. And it was a picture of a guy standing next to a computer with a
hose. That's funny. I like that.
Yeah. So good.
All right, well.
You want to kick us off?
Yeah, so we're in a series that is now just called Stuff We Talk About, right, Steven? Stuff we're talking about. So sorry, Steven.
Stuff we're talking about.
And by the way, isn't Steven doing such a good job with these videos?
He's doing a way better job than I ever did.
Gosh, it's so good.
As you have so conveniently told our leaders.
It's so good. Well, man.
Oh, I'm sure Steven's going to put that text in there. They're 100 times better than they've ever been before.
I said 5 times. 5 times.
Well,
better.
I think you were underestimating. I think it's more like 10 times
okay.
better.
All right. Well, now who's putting who down? Okay, we're in this series, and we're talking about a whole bunch of big things, but they're all connected. So we started by talking about how we're made in the image of God. We have this internal value. We have this purpose and this meaning. I was thinking about it this way. We were made on purpose for a purpose. That's pretty corny.
Yeah, that's like Church Growth 101 from the late 90s.
Yeah.
You were made on purpose for a purpose.
Yeah, Steven, edit that out. So
don't edit that out.
So we
make
were
it a nice
created,
little
On purpose for a purpose.
we were created with value and purpose. And then last week we talked about how the fact is but we're not perfect.
Yeah.
So how does not being perfect and being in the image of God go together? Can it go together? And the fact is God loves us constantly. That never stops. And he continually forgives us. And he is wanting to help us become more and more like him, because the more like him we are, the more life we experience, and the less gross things that feel like death we experience. But part of that is choosing to step away from the old way of things and stepping towards the new. And no matter how fast or slow we do that, God's love doesn't change. But we're going to experience some pretty cool things if we take his advice and step away from these things that we talk about often here that are just gross and will make us miserable and can hurt us in lots of ways. Okay, so all that leads up to this. It feels like that we have this purpose and this role that we were meant to play, but the Bible makes it pretty clear it's not like these individual purposes, but we're all connected together. There's this part in the Bible. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. I looked it up as first.
I said first.
I know.
Yeah.
Good job. And it talks about you know how a body has a whole bunch of different parts, like fingers, legs, toes, arms, eyes, ears, nose, blah, blah, blah.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Yes, all these things, they connect together to make one body, but it's made up of a bunch of parts that are different from each other. The same thing is true in how we're all connected together to Jesus. We're like this body with a bunch of different parts. And then it goes down this rabbit hole some really cool ways. So this is verse 14 through 18. And it says this. For in fact, the body is not a single member or part. This says member, but it means part. But many. I'll just start saying parts instead of members.
Good call.
Yeah. If the foot says, since I am not a hand, I am not part of the body, it does not lose its membership in the body because of that partship.
You have a Bible reading voice.
I do.
Yeah, I like
I
it.
do. All right. And if the ear says, now I'm so self-conscious of my voice. Okay. Oh, no. No, it's hopeless. I'll just keep going. And if the ear says, since I am not an eye, I'm not part of the body, it does not lose its membership in the body because of that. If the partship. If the whole body were an eye, that would be terrifying. If the whole body were an eye, what part would do the hearing? If the whole body were an ear, what part would exercise the sense of smell? But as a matter of fact, God has placed each of the parts in the body just as he decided. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like especially when you think about like just the human body for a second. Like, man, if you were missing legs,
It would be challenging.
Life would be a little harder.
Yeah.
If you were missing arms, it'd be hard. If you were just 20 ears,
that would be terrifying.
that would be terrifying. But like, and each of these like parts of our body in and of themselves are absolutely useless.
Yes.
But like when they all come together and they kind of fit together like this beautiful puzzle that God has designed us, like, well, then we can do what we need to. It's like, oh, I can go run, I can think, I can write, I can lay down, I can swim, I can experience life, like the life that God wants me to. But it only happens when all of the parts kind of come together. And what Paul is essentially saying here is like, well, that's kind of how it works in the church too.
Yeah.
Right. Like this whole community thing, this whole like building each other up thing, this whole growing together thing, it only works when we each play our part.
Yeah, for sure. And like this first section, it's affirming a few things. Like every single one of you has purpose, like really intentional purpose. Like you can do some really important things, but we're not necessarily meant to do that in the same ways. Like God has designed you, every single one of you, to have purpose and to be able to contribute to something, but not necessarily in the same way. And a lot of times we compare with each other. So it's like talking about, it's like the foot, like it's walking around. Like at the time that this was written, the foot was seen as like one of the dirtiest parts of the body. Like you don't touch your feet. And that's kind of true today. If you touch your feet too much, people will stop talking to you and being your friend because that's gross. But like the eye is like, wow, eyes are beautiful and they see and they're really cool. So if you're comparing yourself to someone else who can do something really, really cool, and you're like, oh, well, I'm not important. God's not going to use me for everything because I'm not good at whatever this is. You're missing the point that you're incredibly important. And without you, we wouldn't be able to experience the things that we could experience with you.
Well, I think that that's like, I mean, there's a lot of value to understanding this in the context of like community, your house party, being a part of a church, but like this is just for like life in general. Because I think so many of us, we look at just the strengths and the gifts of other people, and it's really easy to compare and to get jealous and to be like, oh man, like I wish I could do that. Like I wish I could be an eye. That'd be so cool to see. But then you got like an eye that's looking at a hand and be like, man, I wish I could pick stuff up. Right. And so, you know, at some point we've just kind of got to step back and be like, all right, like God, if you've gifted me this way, there's a reason for it. And the way I'm going to experience the most life and the most joy is by being the best version of the thing you've created me to be. Not like for me, I would be miserable if I tried to be the best Stetson I could be. And Stetson would be miserable if he tried to be the best Nate he could be.
I really would.
Yeah. And I would too. But like us trying to be the best version of who God made us to be, it's like, oh, I can thrive and I can flourish. And then me and you, I think a part of what's made the student ministry so successful here for you guys is that I got to bring the best version of who I was. Stetson brought the best version of who he was. Each of your house party leaders has been bringing the best version of who they are. And together we're leading this thing. And it's beautiful and it's life-giving and it's healthy. And it's not healthy, beautiful, and life-giving because we all look the same. It's beautiful, healthy, and life-giving because we're all being exactly who God made us to be.
So if you're comparing yourself to other people and thinking you're not as important or as valuable. Stop it. Okay, it goes both ways though.
It
Okay,
does.
here's 19 through 21. If they were all the same part, where would the body be? So again, the body full of eyes. It's just terrifying. So now there are many parts, but one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. Nor in turn can the head say to the foot, I do not need you. That's a big deal.
Well, it is, and so in our culture today, in the world you guys are growing up in, we're taught to be very independent. Like, it's all about me. I can do this. I can do it all. I don't need other people. But then when you look at the Bible, and specifically what Paul's talking about here, it's like, well, no, you actually can't. Like, you were never made to do life alone. You were designed to be a part of something bigger than yourself, to be a part of a community, because other people have something that you need. And you have something that they need.
Yeah.
And so the only way you thrive and be healthy is by stepping into that relationship where there's a mutual give and take and love and respect and care for one another.
Yeah, for sure. And this causes us to stop and think about the people that we kind of look down on. Because, I don't know, just the way that we think, we're always below somebody, which we just talked about beforehand, but we're always also above somebody. And it feels a lot better to look down than it does to look up. And like, if we look down on people, just like, I'm better than this person, or I am more important, or I have, like, if I died, people would suffer far more than if this person died. That's kind of a dark thing to think about. But the point is like, these verses make us stop and think about the fact it's like, oh no, like, every single person has value and has purpose, and God has chosen to make people in certain ways and good at certain things for a reason, and we should be really respectful of that. And it causes us to, like, look, it's like, if we can't see what God has placed in another person, it's fun to look harder until we figure that out.
When I think what that does too is it just reminds us, like, man, there's no one or no thing that is beneath us, right? Like, so think about Jesus for a second. Like, the night that he was betrayed, do you know what he was doing? He was literally on his feet, on his knees, washing the feet of his disciples. Now, in that culture, for like a rabbi like Jesus to wash the feet of his disciples, that was unheard of. That was unthinkable. But Jesus did it because he really wanted to show, like, my heart is not to be above you and to make you serve me. My heart is to serve you and to show you how you need to care for other people.
Yeah.
Right? And look, feet back then, going back to feet, they were gross.
Gross.
There was donkey poop all over the floor. They were stepping in it, probably had some gunk in between their toes.
Yep.
And yet the Son of God, God himself, got down on his knees and tenderly washed their feet and cleaned them and dried them with the towel, because nothing was beneath him. No one was beneath him. And that's the kind of heartbeat and posture that, like, man, if you want to experience just this community Jesus has called you into in the way that he actually wants you to experience it, like, that's not just got to be your posture, that has to be my posture, that has to be your posture. Like, when we are mutually giving of ourselves and serving other people, something beautiful happens.
Yeah.
Right? You know, all that hierarchical stuff that we deal with of, like, oh, they're prettier than me, or they're cooler than me, or they're richer than me. None of that matters anymore, because none of that stuff matters in the kingdom. None of that stuff matters in this community Jesus is inviting us into. The only thing that matters is that thing we talked about week 1. It's that image. It's that thing God placed in us. And we have an opportunity through serving other people and doing the thing God has made us and created us to do to help people experience that.
Cool. All right. A few more verses before we're done here. Verse 22 through 25. On the contrary, those parts that seem to be weaker are essential, and those parts we consider less honorable we clothe with greater honor, and our unpresentable parts are clothed with dignity, but our presentable parts do not need this. Instead, God has blended together the body, giving greater honor to the lesser part, so that there may be no division in the body, but the parts may have mutual concern for one another. So it's like this. How much time do you guys spend thinking about your hair? I spend very little time thinking about my hair.
Me too.
Now, if you lost your hair, would you die? I am living proof that you do
No.
not die if you lost your hair. How much time do you spend thinking about your liver? You probably haven't thought about it for months and months until I just brought it up right now.
If you lost that, you would die.
You would die. So this is kind of what it's talking about. It's like us as individuals, the things that God has made us good at, oftentimes the things that go unnoticed are the most essential things that we need. And so if you're feeling kind of invisible, of just like, man, like, I know what I'm good at, but nobody cares, you might have this super essential gift that is like so crucial to the people around you, and like this desire that you have to have purpose and do things, like it's really, really important.
Really is, man.
All right, there's a couple more verses here, but I don't know if we have time to go through them.
I feel like we've given them
Yeah.
plenty to talk about.
Yeah. Here's one good cliffhanger to leave it on. It's like, all right, we're made in the image of God. And we have potential, even if we've made mistakes. And we're all interconnected in this body. All of this seems very intentional for some sort of purpose. What's the purpose?
Nice cliffhanger.
Yep.
I feel like we're going to circle back to that next week.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, leaders, you should have some questions if you need help diving into this, but I feel like there's enough content here for them to jump off with. So hope you have a great discussion, and we will see you next week.
Goodbye.